Hi, welcome to the Pulse. I hope you're doing well. In today's episode, I would like to talk to you about the topic around sports and what I've learned from being an athlete. Basically, what I've learned from being an athlete, of course, I was no professional, but I did a lot of sports growing up, and I went to the US on a tennis scholarship, so I definitely had a student athlete career. And I would like definitely to share with you how this has helped me in my life and what I've learned from it, and that I have also applied in my career, in my day-to-day, currently every day, basically, since. You may hear in the background my little doggy who might be making a couple of noise. I hope this doesn't bother you for the one who will watch some of the snippet, because I think I will definitely put some of it in it. You can see that he's right next to me, and I'm in a new setup trying to figure out how to record this podcast while entertaining him, as he is very cuddly and definitely wants to be next to mommy all the time. So I hope that won't bother too much, and enjoy today's episode. I have been doing sports since I'm basically 3 years old. I started very young because I was energetic, and my parents, being also people who love sports in general, they wanted me and my brother at the time to basically do a lot of activities. And so from 3 years old, I was on the tennis court first because my parents were both tennis players. And then I continue growing up doing multiple sports. I'm lucky in my life that my parents never decided on one sport for me. Basically, every year I would do 2 sports. I would pick at the end of the year which sport I wanted to continue or not. So some years I could pick to continue both sports. Some years I would continue only one and try a different one. So in my beginning of my life, I think until I was around 10 or 11, I did track and field, I did Aikido, I did handball, I did basketball, many different sports. And every time the sport that I decided to keep on doing was tennis. Some years I chose to do, I think handball twice, 2 years in a row. But overall, the sports that I really wanted to keep going and where I felt the best at was tennis. So by the time I was in middle school, I was definitely playing quite a lot. Even in primary school, so my first couple of years, I was part of top players in my area, having some extra trainings and stuff like this. But very quickly, let's say the federation had put some limits in terms of you had to be at a certain level at a certain age, which didn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, because also some of those requests were regarding us being on a certain level at a moment where women would grow a lot. So, for example, when I was 11, I gained more than 10 centimeters, and that was the year they asked us to gain, I think, 4 or 5 level. And when you're in the middle of growing and that you have to basically relearn to serve because you've changed completely body-wise, it's quite tricky. So I was not really in that level anymore, in that environment. It didn't feel right, and we were not on the same page with the league, basically. And so after a while, I was training by myself. So by the time I was 11 years old, I ended up playing. I had a coach. I was part of a club, and so I was mainly playing within this club, and I was training with a group from the club. I was at the highest level, but I was not part of any federation or any organization of sorts. So all payment came from my parents, which I highly appreciated, and they took care of me. They took me and my brothers on a lot of tournaments. So in the summer, sometime I would play 4 matches per day in 2 different tournaments, things like this. It was definitely very, very intense. but very enjoyable. And I really had an amazing time. And I think while I'm very emotional on the court, I think in my life in general, I think I always loved it. I mean, I had a case one time that I said to my parents, "Hey, I want to stop. I'm tired. I don't want to play anymore." They said, "Okay, just give us your rackets and that's fine. And if you decide to play again or whenever you want to start again, you let us know." And I think I lasted a month. And after a month, I went back and I told them, "Okay, I want my racket back and I want to be back on the court." So definitely, even if I had some tough time, even if I lost some matches, I always enjoyed playing the game. And I would say still today, I love playing tennis. And so that has taught me a lot, and nowhere near me saying that I was any professional level. I actually had more of a regional level. I don't have any major title. I won a lot of tournaments growing up, but nothing major. But that allowed me, when I was 18, to receive a letter saying that I had the level to go play in the US. And so I got a scholarship and I went to play in South Carolina in Division 2. I chose Division 2 because I wanted to make sure that my studies were also quite important. And in Division 1, I would never have gone to one of the top schools that was only taking top players in the countries, in each of the countries, actually. So Division 2, and I had an amazing time, but it was definitely also quite intense, having to deal with, 4 hours a day, up to 5 days a week. So definitely quite an intense period. A lot of tennis, a lot of workouts, and managing this with class and everything. So it was definitely busy. I went there from my age 20 to 23 because I decided first to study a couple of years in France. And I had an amazing time and it taught me a lot. And so when I got back after my studies, I ended up kind of using everything that I've learned in my day-to-day and my career. And so let's talk about what I've learned from sports. The first lesson I learned from sports is basically being organized. The amazing part of being an athlete is that you have to have your schedule on point all the time. You have to be clear of where you have to be, when, how, etc. Organize your travel, organize your bag, organize everything to the detail. I mean, with tennis, I had to always be at the match before a certain timing because you can always play early. You have to give your name at the desk. You're not sure to play exactly at the time expected. Usually you cannot start before the time that you will start. So let's say you plan 10, you would not play before 10, but you could end up playing at 10:30, 11 or later, depending on how the matches before went. But it was always important, in France at least, you always had to be there at least 15 minutes before, give your name to the desk, player's desk, and then wait and be around and be warm and make sure that you keep eating or being prepared food-wise, being warmed up, etc. on time. So you had to look at how the match before was going, where it was at, always be on point. And something with my tennis bag, this is a great thing with my parents. They made me very organized from the get-go. They said, from a very young age, you're responsible for your bag. So you have to make sure you've got your shoes, you've got your clothes, you've got your rackets, you've got your bananas, water, everything. We're not responsible for this. You are. And that was one of the best gifts they gave me because it allowed me to create a certain structure and to feel very responsible for everything that happened. And it was not on them. So it's not like, oh, I lost my match because I didn't have my favorite skirt or I didn't have whatever food I wanted. All under my responsibility. Of course, they had everything available in the house. So it's not like I would miss something, but I had to be responsible for me on the day. Of course, they would travel, but I would also be responsible for my schedule and to make sure that I was telling them whenever I was playing so then they would make sure to bring me on time. So this whole organization was definitely the same for my brother. So it's very family oriented. And it really allowed me today to even be structured in the same way. So I'm always someone that is very organized. I know when are the deadlines. I know when things have to happen. And I think if I talk to many athletes, I see this very often. And that organization goes even beyond, because when you are a student athlete, for example, you have to take care of your schedule, your school, your basically training, making sure everything fits into your agenda. You have to build your schedule, also knowing what's happening with your training. You also have to prepare for your tests accordingly. So I knew exactly when I had to study. I knew how to organize myself for that, etc. And with that, I even went to the point that I knew myself so much in terms of how my body and how my mind was working that I was really adapting everything to it. So my senior year of high school, I was training, I think, only 3 times a week, because in France it's very difficult. It's not as easy as in the US, because you finish school very late. We had to go till 6 p.m. basically every day. And so I had to prepare and organize myself to have time for training and time for school. And one of the things that I realized for me that was easy to see is that training after school and then eating and then studying, the studying was not good at all. I was really tired. I had a long day and it did not feel right. I was not retaining as much. I know, even though a lot of people say you retain a lot at night because then when you're sleeping, it's a reminder. For me, it was not triggering anything. And so I realized by shifting it, I would start early in the morning. So I would wake up around 5 a.m. and then I would study in my room for basically 2 hours, 1 hour, 1.5, until my dad would wake up and would have breakfast. And that 1.5 hour to 2 hours per day was a lot more impactful than doing it at night. So I really adapted my schedule to what felt right for me. And that is definitely something that being organized, being structured, knowing yourself is really one of the key pillars of what I've learned with sports. Another topic that I learned through tennis is play point by point. That's the sentence that everyone say. This means that you can lose a point, but then you have to be prepared for the next point. And it's not because you've lost one that you're not going to win the next one. So you have to deal with the loss of that point very quickly in order to recover and be ready for the next one. Because if you don't do that, usually you're going to be in a negative mindset and you're going to end up losing 2-3 points very quickly, even though if you had recovered, potentially, even if you lose the next point, but you make it harder for the player, it's then better there is more chances for you to even win the third point. If you are losing a point and you're not there mentally, then you're going to lose the second point potentially even faster. And that's going to be an easy win, an easy point gained by the other player. So point by point is you have to build, and it's the same thing on the positive side. It's not because you want a point that you have to overly celebrate, because you need to win the next point. And if you lose fast, again, you give the other athletes a free point. So the objective is to, point by point, you have to win and build your game over time. It's not a quick win. It cannot be that easy. So you have to build the win at the end of the day. And it's very similar to work or to life, in order to win at something, it's not about, the moment you win, but it's about all the little steps you did before to make sure you won or you were successful in something. So sometimes you have to think, okay, in order for me to be, great at, or learning a language, let's take it like this. It's not about, okay, I'm going to learn a language for 3 hours and then I'm going to be good to go. It's about a little bit every day. That's what is going to build that final stretch of being like, yeah, now I speak a third or fourth or whatever, or even the second language. And that's how you have to see it. This really the point by point approach, day by day, little by little. This is how you build a win. It's not by just doing it once or like for a certain short time and then it's a go. The third important learning from tennis is that a game is never over, a match is never over until the winner has won the last point. That means there is always a chance, and unless it's completely over, there is always a possibility somewhere. So you have to try and you have to fight and you have to look for the solution. And maybe it's going to not be easy. Maybe you're going to lose a lot along the way, but that doesn't mean that it's over automatically, you know? So you always have to push yourself and try and try and try again. So actually one of the most amazing thing in tennis is that you can win a match by having lost more points than your opponent. So your opponent can lose having won more points than you. And it's because of how the structure of the game is. And I know this is not potentially what reality tells us, but I do feel like this can teach you a lot. It doesn't mean if you lose 100 times, potentially the 101 you're going to win, and you're going to win big because all the little losses taught you something to and help you grow to achieve something potentially bigger or better. And it's very tough when you're in a negative moment to see that. I think you only see that lesson when you've had a success and you look back at everything you've achieved and all the failure you've dealt with and how you've improved on that. And it's very complicated, I would say, even for me today, you know, even though I know this lesson very well and I've experienced it as well in tennis, it's very tough in my day-to-day to see it. Actually, in another sports, I currently do running, and I have just had a DNF. I did not finish a race, not because I didn't try or I was not feeling well. I was not feeling my best because it was very hot, but I arrived at the second time pause too late. After the time limit, which was, I arrived about 30 minutes after the time limit, but it's kind of when I realized that I was behind the time limit, then I slowed down and to get up to the mountains where I was. So I was doing a trail running race, and this was a big failure. And I have to say, I'm still not recovered from it, and it's over a week, and it still impact me. I know this will be very helpful because that failure will help me for my next training venture. I'm sure of it. But at the moment, I am just seeing it highly, highly negatively. So it will take me time, but I know this failure is helping me grow and learn and progress in my journey to running. So here I'm talking sport to sports, and I can definitely tell you that there is similar case for work. I have also seen it. I have dealt with it, and I cannot tell you that it's easy all the time. But I do believe that when you look back after the success, then you realize that part of the journey that you have maybe had many losses, but at the end you will gain something somewhere. And you will realize that all your losses brought you for something better and that you won the game even though you lost a lot on the way. The next part, I think is number 4, is don't compare yourself. And again, this is a topic that is very hard, but in sports, you're very often compared to your other fellow athletes. And it's important for yourself to build that feeling of like, I'm not comparing myself to others, but I'm comparing myself to me and bettering myself and being in that mindset of always wanted to improve and be better and taking the feedback, taking the criticism for your personal improvement. It's not about being better than the one on the right, the one on the left. Yes, of course, you will be compared. There will be competitions where you're playing against or you are running against or whatever else. And of course, if you want to win, you have to be better than the others. But if you try to overplay someone, if you try to overrun someone, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, you have to play your game. You have to run your way. You have to do what you do best and what you do at practice. It's not about trying to overplay somebody. It's always about trying to do better for yourself and not to compare yourself to the left and right person. It's hard because for sure, if you want to be an Olympian, win a gold medal, for example, you have to be better than all the others. But when you practice, you don't practice next to the others. You practice against you and you're trying to better yourself every day. And this is really what sports is teaching you, is that it's all about improving every single day. For me in tennis, it was always like this. Yes, I was playing matches, which would tell me how good I was compared to the others, but I could literally win a game against one girl and then 48 hours playing the same girl and lose. Depend on the surface, depend on the weather, depend on how I was feeling that day. There is a lot of condition outside of my actual tennis game that could play. And it could also be my head, or I was just maybe not feeling it. And for sure, it's also my fault to make sure that if I lose, but it's like you cannot keep on comparing against the person left and right. You have to compare yourself to, did I play better today? It could also be that the player played better today than they played the other day. So it's all about, am I improving? Is my forehand is improving? Is my serve improving? Am I seeing more better way of playing, better way of running, etc. every day? And that is only between you and you. And that is the beauty of what sports tell you, and you can reuse it as well in your personal growth and personal development. It's the same thing. I struggle, I have to say, because like everybody else, we're being judged from a young age. You should be there at this age. You should do that at this age. And it starts very young. You should talk at a certain age. You should walk at a certain age. And it keeps going all your life. And unfortunately, I still see it today when some people say, oh, this person is that age in the career. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know what they've been doing for 20 years. Potentially, yes, they are only they are an analyst, but the only word is completely negative, but this is what people say. But potentially they have done so many other things, and maybe this is what they like to do. So it's not about comparing where we are at a certain age, but making sure that we feel like we are bettering ourselves every day. And I'm not perfect in that way at all. I have seen it multiple times, where sometimes I look at my friends left and right, and I see, they are VPs or they are senior director or whatever level. They have 2 kids, they're married, and I'm like, yay, I'm single, I'm a senior project manager, I have a dog, but I don't have or what society tell me to have. But then I'm looking at my life, because it's not about comparing to them. At the end of the day, I look at my life and I'm like, well, I know 3 languages, which is for me amazing. I've traveled to those places, which is for me amazing. My job that I'm currently doing is great. It's challenging. I'm learning something new. I've switched to multiple departments. That taught me a lot in my life. So as long as I grow and I develop my knowledge, my skills, that I improve myself, I better myself in any way possible. It can be private, it can be career. I feel like as long as you feel like you keep on improving, then it's good. Then you're doing a good job. it's about learning not to stand still, I guess. For me, it's the harder thing. You can talk to my therapist every time we talk about it. I tell her passive time is a no-go for me, because I always like to be active, and active means doing something with my brain, with my body being active, or whatever else. I like to be someone that is always looking to improve. And this is really coming from tennis, where it was always about how can you improve and better yourself. And I would not change that part for the world. I really love that. It's just about finding the right balance of where you want to improve, when and how, and make it work for yourself. So this is one of my biggest learning, and it can be challenging, as I said, because I can also be very hard on myself. And as I said, this last did not finish race was a very hard moment, and I'm smiling, but I have to say that 45 minutes ago, before I started recording that podcast episode, I was not feeling well at all. So I recognize that it's not an easy thing, but you can learn a lot from it. So I say a lot, and this is definitely an improvement I want to have. And okay, same thing, improving this podcast or day by day. So all those informations or news that I have shared now, all those 4 topics, I hope this helps you in terms of learning how you can take from being an athlete. And potentially you're an athlete yourself, and you also have some other pieces of advice that you've learned from sports that you would like to share. I'm pretty sure I will do another episode because I have more on the topic. But we'll stop for today, because I don't want those episodes to be too long for me to learn as I am editing, but also to keep it short and sweet for you as you're listening. To recap what we discussed today, there is 4 advice I would like to tell you from sports, that I told you today from sports. The first one is to be organized and structured. The second one is about playing point by point. The third one is that even with many losses, the game is never over until basically the match point is won. And then the fourth one is always looking for improvement in your life. And this is the end of today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope you like the little buddy being next to me. And I wish you all a very great day. Thank you for listening in. Please support the podcast by giving it 5-star rating and also sharing it with your friends, family on social media. Thank you so much. I wish you all a very nice day and see you soon. Bye.